Well, this is Gene Harm, and I thought we would do something fun today. And we're watching a couple cars that I just kicked off into the classification yard as they're rolling down the track on their own. And this is something we can do in Train Sim World. So for demonstration purposes, I will begin the day out and show you, bring you along from the start of the day and give you a full demonstration on how I do this. Starting the day out at the office, what I did here is that we're out at the fuel depot, and let's work our way down here and walk on over to the engine. Check and make sure it's fueled up. And sure enough it is. And I know I'm going to take a few minutes to do this before I go out to the hump yard. We got to travel a couple miles down, but this engine is cold, so we need to start it up. But what I'm doing is I'm just making sure the handbrake is So I'm just making sure the handbrake is locked. And come sit down. Turn on the fuel pump and the generator and all the switches to allow it to run. Check the circuit breakers, make sure they're all good. We won't need the alerter or anything like that. We're staying within the yard. So nothing to change there. I think everything needs to be on is on. And before we start up, we have to make sure the isolation switch is on the stop position. And so we can go on out now and start her up. Head on over to this cabinet and prime it for about 5 seconds, and then hit the start switch and it should start running for us. So we'll come back in. Now we got to go over to the switch here and make sure we got move it over to run. Get it out of start mode and get it to run mode. And then also make sure that we're into single engine and not multi-unit. And here we are. We're gonna check the brakes are engaged and the engine's running, and we're going to give it 1 notch of throttle to get the air lines up. And now that the air is coming in into the brake system and the red needles are going up, we can go ahead and get up and unlock the manual brake. Oh, and we're going to make sure that we have the cutoff valve set to freight. We're going to be moving a little bit of freight as we kick them out in the hump yard. Alright, we'll gave it enough time, I think, for the air to build up. We'll go ahead and come on back out. Release the handbrake. can go back in and sit in the engineer's seat and be on our way. So looking at the brakes, indicator needles, the white needles won't come up until I release the air, and it should go right on up to above 90. I don't fully understand the brake system yet, and I'm still learning. But we're good to go at this point. Just a matter of now releasing the independent brake before and then we notch up on the throttle and slide the windows open, get some fresh air in the cabin. Yeah, one of the disappointments here with the Train Sim World is that there is a good AI for trains moving through almost all the scenarios and even the services, but you don't see a lot of static freight cars in the yard. And so there is some, and we're going to go get some box cars, and there's some tank cars and some auto track cars, and but not much. And so as we go through the yard here, you can see how bare and empty it is, and there's no way for us to edit Train Sim World at this point where we can add more cars in. So it's so frustrating in a lot of ways, because there is so much potential, and as we're really gonna have some fun in this video, kicking the cars out and learning some new things. And it's so frustrating that we don't have a full yard to play with. I mean, as it is, I have the disappointment that there's no free roam, and the disappointment that there's no scenario editor, let alone a route editor. So I back down here. I got to get out as an engineer and switch over the points on my own. And so what I want to do is kind of driving home the point that you feel all alone if you're going to use the first person view and walk around, which is so wonderful that we can do this, that we can in this new level of simulation for trains, we can actually get up and walk around and crunch the gravel beneath our feet. But I'm going to go into the camera mode now in order that we can have actually a conductor, flagman if you will, separate from the engineer. So this is actually camera mode 3 with a 3 key on the keyboard, where I can have our engineer, there he is, he can drive the train, and I can stay in radio contact with him and tell him what's going on, call the shots, and continue to, in a sense, continue to drive the train and have the ability with the HUD up and all that. Checking out through the brakes, making sure all the brake system is good throughout the train. Been doing a brake test, kind of an imaginary way. And then with camera 3, you actually have the freedom to move quite a bit around, and you're always locked to whatever point you are near the train. And so in a sense, I'm on this ladder right here and can ride this box car and still have contact with the engineer and control the train movements. And so this is fabulous. So this part, I've talked about before in the Good, the Bad, the Ugly video I put out a week ago. But this is so nice that we can use camera 3. Yeah, I know it's not so much where I'm walking around, I'm floating around in the camera, but it works. I mean, it works. I'm glued to this point until I want to move away. I can come out here, throw the switch, and get back on and still maintain my position as conductor and still control the engine movements. And of course now and even do things like you see here now, where I got back on the train but decided to ride the leading point. And in a sense, even with camera 3, it knows the barriers that it's within. It doesn't float through the engine block or the railings or anything. It keeps you within the rails and well, the handrails, I mean. And gives you a sense of legitimate movement where you don't actually float through objects. Now, I have experience floating through like telephone poles and stuff in some of these camera modes, but it's pretty good at making sure you don't even go through the ground or anything like that. So yeah, so I can actually do the conductor job and leave the engineer in his seat and use this camera mode to kind of jump off the train and throw points. This is so much better than having to get up out of my engineer seat, walk around in an unrealistic, well, not unrealistic, but in an impractical way, and then go back and sit down and all that. No, just continue on in the conductor's position and head on through. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. There's many points to change, but I went ahead and changed most of them ahead of time. I left a few for us to demonstrate how I get on and off. So, and give you a good idea, we had from the fuel depot, we had to head south about a mile or so on the rails to get to the far south end of the classification yard. And the classification yard is just to the left of the screen here. And yeah, in that there's a tower there, and that's really, I would believe, the classification tower. And what we're going to do is we have to head over to this far left rail coming down, and eventually head over to the hump. So we'll get to the hump yard, and then we can. And now the purpose of the hump yard is for quick classification of cars, and that is a train of mixed cars could go over the hump, and without having to go back and forth in the typical switching moves, he can just the conductor can just stand there, release the car, and let the gravity take the car on its own down into the classification yard, and somebody can throw the points to the siding it's supposed to go into. And so it sounds like to me there's another train coming. So I'm looking around, I don't see it. So maybe it's my own brake system on this train. A lot of good sounds in Train Sim World. Yeah, throw the switch point and hop back onto the engine and continue riding the conductor's position. It's a little tricky sometimes. You kind of jump up and back down again in order to get the camera to go in between the railings. So I'm going to move on through, and yeah, so back to the classification yard. It's so convenient for if you have a mixed train to let the cars roll into the siding they're supposed to do. I mean, it saves a lot of time. And I believe that's the purpose. I'm not a railroad person professionally, but it's really fun that we can even simulate this in Train Sim World. But it does take a little bit of skill, as you're going to notice in a bit, because the simulation isn't really true. We should be able to go up the top of the hill without any handbrake on the individual cars. If I uncouple, they should start rolling, and they don't. So even with the handbrake released, your car won't roll. So Train Sim World does not need any derailleurs put into any of its rails, because there's never going to be a runaway car. Without doing what you're about to see happen here in a few minutes. So I snuck underneath the hump and came up on the other side and switching the point to go so we can go onto the same rail as the hump. And once we get out there, we can switch to back ourselves right up onto the top of it. Yeah, so Train Sim World does not really simulate it correctly because I can't just stand there and uncouple one car after another and they start rolling. I have to kick the cars. At first I didn't think it was possible, and then I didn't give up. I tried enough and then found out there's a certain sweet spot to kick the cars to get them to kick and not lock up. You know, maybe somebody knows something that I don't and could talk to it. So normally you would be right here on the top of the hump and then start kicking them. Now, there's the train that's going by. But what I'm doing now is, instead of staying on top of the hump and just letting them roll, the first time I did this, I let a car go and it just kept going and going. Eventually it would stop, but it would go all the way to the far side. So I'm setting out one car. Oh, it's just terrible. Look, there is nothing in this yard. It's no static cars at all, practically. And so, yeah, so I'm setting one car out to catch, for demonstration purposes, to catch our cars that I'm about ready to kick. And I think you'll enjoy this if you give it a try yourself. It is rewarding. And maybe some of the fact that it's frustrating too if you're not experienced it. So here, I'll show you how you do. You just back up enough, get the speed up above 5, I guess. Wait till there's a little slack in the couplers, between the couplers, and boom, there it goes. So it looks so easy, but it is necessary to get right at that sweet spot for it to kick and roll. So if you didn't believe it now. You're seeing it with your own eyes. That car's flying, it's going down the track. The opening scene, I guess, when you started this video, was a couple cars that kicked off one after another. But here we are, and it does, as it's going through the yard, slow down enough. But yeah, so I got one car to catch it, and if it wasn't for that, it would probably keep rolling for a little ways longer. Yep. So jumping right all the way back up to the hump, and let's give it another one. And so I'm kind of up here, and this is the other thing, kind of riding the car and then pulling the thing instead of standing there and just uncoupling, because it will not work if you just uncouple it. And sometimes it won't work. Boom. If you don't get it right at that sweet spot. This car does not have the handbrake on. It's not rolling either. The simulator makes it lock up. So I'll give it another try. Slack and kick. And there it goes. Yeah, so it's kind of a workaround, but it is fun. And if we ever do get some static cars and I can make up a mixed train, I can actually go out there and with the free cam come over to a switch and boom, make a switch and get it to go down one rail or the other of my choice. I find that you will have to, it is more convenient not to try to run ahead of it and switch it, but if you know where you go and switch it ahead of time. Now, you don't have to do one at a time. So there's times where you're going to have a couple cars or a group of cars, and you can kick them all off at once if you want them all to go down the same siding. So here we are, we're going to go right from the engine and kick 2 cars off. And if you're having trouble kicking one car, try doing two. Sometimes the two of them will create that slack you need to make it a little easier. Yeah, and so if I was trying to make a switch, I went to the wrong switch point. And so what if it's really, for this purposes, if you really wanted to do some classification this way, to go ahead and make the switch before you kick. But for our demonstration purposes, I kicked them all down the same line. And so there we are. That's it. Hope you enjoyed that and give that a try if you have fun. What I did was I went into the services instead of scenarios. Go into a service and found the 9:30 or sometime during the day, or early morning. Well, not early, but you know, anytime during the day, and just go into the fuel depot of Cumberland. So you want to make sure that you start at the fuel depot, because that puts you near the classification car. So I hope you enjoyed, and give it a try and let me know. Make a comment down below and if you're successful in that. See you next time.